probably the most exciting story for me this week, which is that there's been more details revealed about Apple's weird Pixar lamp robot, which was originally rumored to be a robot arm, but now it's becoming a little bit clearer what it is, right, Griffin?
Yeah, so this is going to be the centerpiece of Apple's AI strategy, a tabletop robot targeted for release in 2027. A report coming from you know who. The device features a roughly 7-inch horizontal display, similar in size to an iPad mini, mounted on a motorized arm that can extend about 6 inches in any direction and rotate to follow users around a room. This is building on, I think, like a research Apple published earlier this year that like just showed sort of like a proof of concept of a robot that was, like a robotic lamp. So didn't have a screen on it, obviously, but it could take directions, as in it would, turn and look at you, nod its head, turn around, nudge things that you needed, stuff like that. And it was really cute. But obviously Apple isn't in the robot lamp business.
Not
So
yet.
this is a more not yet. It might be. You never know. But this is what they're actually going to do with that sort of technology. The robot will showcase an entirely reimagined version of Siri, another one, I suppose, designed to be far more conversational and contextually aware than the current voice assistant. The new Siri will be able to inject itself into conversations between multiple people. It already does that from a certain point of view. Remember information throughout the day and engage in back and forth discussions about topics like trip planning or daily tasks. Apple envisions the device acting, quote, like a person in the room, capable of interrupting conversations about dinner plans to suggest nearby restaurants or relevant recipes.
That sounds like a recipe for disaster, to be honest.
Put on chunk.
The company also works on a visual personality for Siri, testing an animated version of the Max Finder logo, though the final design may lean closer to Apple's Memoji characters. So you'll got a little blue Finder face smiling and talking at you on this thing.
Oh my God.
That sounds kind of cute.
For 2 minutes.
Well,
Gurman compared the prototyping to the infamous Clippy, Microsoft's
I'm sorry, who?
annoying interactive paperclip of yesteryear. Fun fact, his name is actually Clippit, but people
Is that right?
misremember and call him Clippy. Yeah. In Microsoft Word, either 98 or 2000. His official name was Clippit.
I didn't know that.
There's this weird nostalgia for Clippy/Clippit that I can only attribute to people who've never actually used Microsoft Office 2000. The robot is intended to sit on desks or kitchen counters, helping users manage their day, consume media, and get work done. FaceTime calls will be a key function, with the display able to automatically track and follow people around a room during video conferences. Apple is also testing a feature that would turn an iPhone into a joystick controller, allowing users to manually position the display to different angles. I guess kind of like the Apple TV remote. That could be kind of cool. Beyond the tabletop device, Apple is exploring other robotic projects, including a mobile robot with wheels, similar to Amazon's Astro, and has also talked about humanoid models, which is interesting. The company also works on a large mechanical arm that it might use in manufacturing facilities and retail stores, but its completion could be years away. The tabletop robot is currently in the prototyping stage and targeted for 2027.
well, the early rumors about this, I think, that were confusing because they're talking about when they talk about a robot arm, you think about this thing plonked on the table, and it'll have an arm that will, snatch you a cake off your plate or stuff like that. But the arm is the articulating mechanism for the screen. And the interesting thing is, if you look at Apple publish a paper from their AI team showing how to give a robot that looks like a Luxo lamp personality and give it how it can communicate with humans using various movements to indicate understanding, disagreeing, being confused. And it's fascinating. It's a fascinating paper, and it's a fascinating video because just like the famous Luxo lamp Junior from Pixar, how many emotions or sort of internal states that it can communicate. if it doesn't understand something, it cocks its head. If it agrees, it nods. If it doesn't know, it shakes its head. And of course, Apple's long been doing this. Like a good example is when you log in, you try to log in, you get your password wrong, and it shakes the box, or it used to show that you've got it wrong. So, I mean, this is going to be like Her on steroids. I think people are going to fall in love with this device. It's going to be like a strange pet that will really that people will invest their emotions in, because I think it'll be uncanny as hell. It'll really seem like it will have life. It'll seem as though it understands, and it'll be much better at interacting. It won't be robot-like. It'll be I think somewhat human-like, somewhat animal-like, like a pet. And I think this is why I'm excited about the thing. I think because they're so clever, they really do think about these interactions, and if it has these characteristics, I don't think it'll be as intrusive as people think. I don't think people won't be freaked out by it so much. I think it'll instill a very strange sense of trust. Of course, there's going to be downsides to this as well. I think because people might fall in love with the thing. And I mean, there was a report this week about someone who was spending weeks talking to some chat GPT, some chat bot, and it convinced them they were superhuman. And I think there was some tragic end to that. I just saw the headline, didn't read the story. But I think this is fascinating, and it's coming out next year. Crazy.
27, right?
I mean, the thing is, this is tied to another revision of new Siri, so it might actually, be held off for a few years. But I mean, if it looks like a tiny iMac G4, I'm sold instantly. A little screen on a robot arm with presumably a weighted solid base. I mean, might as well make it half dome shaped. Might as well make it white. Tiny iMac G4, instant buy.
Right.
Where are you going to put it?
I don't know. I mean, it doesn't matter where I put it. It can move around, right?
I don't think so.
Oh, well, it should.
I think it's going to sit right in the middle of your coffee table and be in the way and offer useless interjections.
7-inch screen sounds kind of small for FaceTime, especially if it's like you're walking around the kitchen. Maybe, I don't know, would it be?
I mean, presumably it'll be like iPad proportioned, so it'll be like a 7-inch 4x3 screen, which is a little bigger than like a 7-inch iPhone screen, but that also did stand out to me. That's kind of small.
Do you think the use cases for it, I mean, FaceTime's an obvious one and a good use case. And, I guess answering questions, being an AI companion, I mean...
If you have an island in your kitchen, like stick it in the middle there, and then you've got something you can throw like recipes on, because that's where a lot of like planning of the day happens, I think, in most American households at least.
Right.
That actually seems like a good use for it, having all your recipes displayed on something, and if it can actually answer questions, in a useful way, that would be great. And in fact, since it has a screen, unlike a HomePod, which has to say, "Oh, look on your iPhone for the answer,"
right?
It
I was
can
going to say that. That's going to
show you the answer.
That's the end of that. I can show you on your iPhone. Yeah. My goodness me. Yeah. Good riddance to that.
Mm-hmm. It really depends on if they nail Siri. I mean, if they actually make Siri good, that would make it useful.
Yeah.
I mean, they're tying more and more important hardware products that are dependent on the new Siri. So I think that's giving the company like a certain amount of motivation there.
Well, there was a report this week we ran as well about how the new improved Siri will use app intents so you can completely control your iPhone with your voice. Mm-hmm. And obviously, I think clearly this is the way it's going, isn't it? The sort of, I don't know how long it's going to take there, but the next generation UI is going to be much more of this, chat-driven, AI-driven interactions, where you just ask the thing to do stuff for you and it'll go ahead and do it. Mm-hmm. But there's also, I've been reading a little bit of the AI safety stuff recently, and there's a lot of dangers involved in giving it access to everything on your device, your full calendar, all your health information, medical information, insurance information, financial information. For it to work properly, it's going to have to access that. And there's a lot of Apple's going to be very careful with this. It could be a huge disaster if anything goes wrong.